Hi cuties, my name is Hanako Kozumi and this is the channel Nerdy Nekoma. Everything here is about Haikyuuchat stories and fanfic. Thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. A little disclaimer to begin with. I do not own any of the Haikyuu characters, artworks or music I might use. This is not necessarily how I see them, and just for entertaining purposes. I am aware that there are similar channels and videos to this one, and I do not intend to copy or steal any work from them. By the way, I created my avatar with the app Lily's Story. The designs are super cute.
Previously in Fractured. Kenma? I can't bear to see you like that. Not again. Not like this. It's okay, I'm here. I'll always be. What is... I said I'm fine. Kenma is such a wreck. He was a burden. He hurt his beloveds. Alright, welcome back everybody to Fractured, my BokuAkaKuroKen series. As you should have noticed by now, this is not the first part. It's actually the second part of the second part. Don't question it. So if you haven't watched the others yet, I would highly advise you to do that beforehand so that this whole thing will make sense to you. And for everyone else who returned, first of all, thank you a lot. Well, let's just start and jump straight into the video. However, before we can do that, a little content warning about the topics of self-harm, panic attacks, and unhealthy eating habits. If you struggle with any of these, please be aware and maybe do not watch this video. That's completely fine, I understand. Just want you to be aware and, well, if you still want to watch it, enjoy. When Akashi and Kuro came home, occasionally their classes would end around the same time and they'd work together, the first thing they saw was Bokuto. To be more precise, a blanket pile covering the ace. Hey, Kataro, are you okay? The blanket pile moved a little in what Akashi assumed to be a nod. Akashi took his and Kuro's backpack, while the older slowly approached the blankets. He gently lifted them so he could see the other's face. Kataro, what happened? Bokuto sighed. Nothing. Ko, it's not nothing. Please don't lie to us about this. Bokuto just looked down and tried hugging the blankets closer, but Kuro took them before he could. Ko? Now it was Kuro's turn to sigh. Is this about Kenma? Akashi kneeled in front of Bokuto. He threw a quick glance at Kuro as he mentioned their boyfriend. Bokuto nodded slowly. Could you explain, please? The concern was evident in Akashi's voice. He yelled at me after I woke him up this morning. Because he had a nightmare? No. Then why? I don't know. He got mad after I told him that I skipped training to be there for him. Your coach approved though. It wasn't a question. Akashi knew Bokuto wouldn't lie to them. Again, the taller nodded. I just didn't want to irritate him again. We know. Kuro sat next to Bokuto and gently pulled him to his side. It's okay. You did the right thing. He put in an effort to reassure him. They all did. Normally. The three of them knew that Bokuto struggled sometimes with his actions. He wasn't as good as most people when it came to impulse control, and was simply told one too many times before that he acted childishly or that he was too loud. For him, it meant that his emotions, his passions and actions were too much for others. The things he felt so great about and how he wanted to share them, the only way he knew how to share them with others, was labeled as annoying and over the top. And it made the ace feel bad for his behavior and made him doubt the things he loved. Akashi, Kuro and Kenma had ever since they knew each other witnessed multiple attempts from Bokuto to try and force himself to change, to be quieter and less impulsive. However, he failed over and over again. And even though the three of them were more than glad about it, glad that he never actually changed, they loved him the way he was, it was still hard watching him. Ko, he is right. You looked out for him, and that was great. Kuro and I would have been way more concerned if you didn't stay with him. Yes. Bokuto hummed in what sounded almost like agreement, and Akashi smiled in response. I'll go and talk to Kenma. Maybe he just got irritated by something in his dreams. He shouldn't have yelled at you, though. It's okay. You don't have to. It's not okay, Bokuto. The other flinched a little at his harsh answer, and especially the use of his last name. Kuro only ever did that when he was really angry. It's... Fuck. I'm sorry, Ko. I'm really worried about Kenma. It's freaking me out. Bokuto nodded slowly, while Akashi carefully took his and Kuro's hand in his own. None of them really knew what to say. They all knew that all of them worried about their boyfriend, but not what to do about it. I just meant that he already apologized. They all sat in silence for a while, each of them lost in their own thoughts, all concerning their loved one. Did he eat? I mean, since he got irritated. No, I mean, yes, he ate, despite being irritated. That's when he apologized. Okay, good. He didn't look me in the eyes though, and he wouldn't let me touch him the whole day. Akashi frowned and got closer to hug Bokuto as well. Kuro, on the other hand, slowly got up as soon as Kashi's arms wrapped around the ace. I'm going to check on him. They nodded and watched him go upstairs. The minutes passed, and when Kuro came back down, Bokuto had his face buried in Akashi's neck. He looked tired, exhausted even. Ko? Akashi patted his back in gentle strokes. You should go to bed. It's okay. Akashi and I are just going to eat a little snack ourselves, and then follow right behind. Yeah, we wouldn't want to be hypocrites, right? Bokuto chuckled lightly. No, I want to stay with you. He whined. Now, Kuro chuckled. He was glad to see Bokuto a little more light-hearted again, more like himself. Come on, Ko. You're basically already asleep. Do you really think one of us would be able to carry you upstairs if you fell asleep on the sofa now? I could. You could carry yourself? Kuro raised an eyebrow and Bokuto gave him a puzzled look as his sleep-deprived brain attempted to comprehend the words. Yes. Kuro couldn't help but laugh. Hey, don't laugh at me. I'm stronger than you. Bokuto pouted. It was the cutest thing ever, along with a sulking Kenma and Akashi in skirts. Kuro closed the distance between them and brought their lips together in a tender kiss. I know you are. Not that he would ever admit that in any other situation. But if you wanted to stay that way, you need to rest. But... And... Kenma is currently alone in bed. He needs someone to cuddle and warm him. Bokuto's eyes widened at the realization and seemed to sparkle at the idea of finally being able to hug Kenma before his expression darkened again. Are you sure he'd want that? Kuro sighed. Seeing Bokuto hurt himself as well. Even more since he was not yet sure how to solve the problem, and because he understood him very well on this. Only one way to find out. Ask. But if it helps you, I'm fairly certain he wouldn't mind. Actually, I think he needs you right now. Why me? Because he knows that you won't interrogate him or try to analyze his behavior and health like Kuro and I would. Is that bad? But I care, and... Ko, we know. And it's not bad. He doesn't need someone overthinking everything right now. Akashi raised an eyebrow at him. I mean, he doesn't need someone that would judge him. Not that we... Tetsuro, it's okay. We understand. He gave another short nod towards Bokuto, who as quickly as he could, considering he was tired beyond words and exhausted from stressing about Kenma's behavior the whole day, scrambled to his feet and towards their bedroom. Hungry? Akashi sighed. Not really. Despite his words, he sat down at the dinner table while Kuro placed a plate with onigiri and a cup of tea in front of him. Sorry, just something simple for tonight. That's fine. Besides, onigiri is my favorite. Right. He sat beside the other and slowly started to eat, but ended up more or less just picking at his food. Hey, it's going to be alright. He gently placed a hand on Kuro's, who had subconsciously started to pick his onigiri apart. You sure about that? Akashi almost dropped his food. His eyes widened and he froze mid-movement. What? Why was he even saying? Whenever something concerned Kenma, Kuro, who undoubtedly knew him best, was always the one to calm everybody down and ensure them that it was nothing serious. He was always so optimistic about this kind of thing. So why this? Why now? You said we should give him some time, to just be there for him, not to interrogate him or force him to talk, that he would get better eventually. I know what I said. But it's been 4 days. Damn, he even yelled at Bokuto. He took a deep breath to calm himself. If I'm being perfectly honest, going into this relationship, this was something I was a little concerned about. Akashi looked at him questioningly. Not this specific situation, just Bokuto being sometimes a bit too much for Kenma. You know he doesn't handle sudden noises, especially loud ones or feelings, well. Akashi hummed in agreement. Yeah, I was a little worried about that too. Exactly. But it was never really a problem. Everything turned out much better than expected, with much fewer complications on the way than anticipated, right? Akashi nodded. So why now? What changed? Akashi frowned, both at Kuro's desperate tone and his own confusion. I thought you said it happened before. Not like this. Kenma always just shrugged it off. The only thing that seemed to bother him about it was that it didn't feel good to faint, and yet still not bad enough to put a lot of effort into avoiding it. He chuckled a little. I got pretty mad at him back then. I just couldn't understand how he could care so little about something that scared the living shit out of me. For me, he tried a little more, and I learned that it truly wasn't as bad. Who would have ever guessed that it's even worse when he cares too much? You think that's it? He cares too much? I'm not 100% certain, but yes, it's a possibility. You heard what he said, right? About being a burden? Akashi nodded. He didn't let any of us carry him these past days, and made himself food for most of the time. I'm just not sure what to do. Me neither. I'm sorry. Kuro finally looked up, only now acknowledging that Kashi had stopped eating as well. He stood up and pulled Akashi in his arms. Don't be. We got this. When they arrived upstairs, a sigh of relief escaped both of them. Their two boyfriends laid in bed, close and tightly snuggling into each other's embrace. Are you worried about him? I'm worried about both of them. Yeah, me too. But Akashi went to get some comfortable clothes for him and Kuro from the drawer. Turning around, he was met with Kuro's expectant gaze. But I know that we'll manage, because we always did. No matter if it was Bokuto feeling insecure about his passionate way of expressing himself, or me because of my lack of it. We managed. We have each other, and that's why we manage. No matter what Kenma is going through right now, we'll manage. We'll be there for him, and we'll listen when he's ready. Kuro nodded. He couldn't agree more, and the way Akashi phrased it, he didn't feel the need to add anything. Akashi accomplished what he himself deemed impossible. He calmed them down a bit. They got ready for bed and were quick to snuggle close to their beloveds. Immediately, Bokuto pulled them in a group hug, even while asleep. It made the two overthinkers smile. In this moment, it seemed that everything was okay. Kenma woke up, terrified. The images of his nightmares still imprinted into his brain. His breathing came in rigid, quick pants, and it still felt like he was suffocating. The air felt like acid in his dry throat. It took a couple of minutes for him to realize the three people laying next to him, his boyfriends. For a second he tried to remember when Kuro and Akashi came to bed, but he was quick to put the thought aside. His breathing still had barely calmed down, and he was suddenly very aware of the possibility of waking the others. Quickly he wiggled himself out of their embrace. Something usually so comforting abruptly became suffocating and made a run for the bathroom. Luckily, he got very good at escaping a hug without the other person noticing. Years of training when his PS4 was out of reach while Kuro hugged him. But he was still very surprised to see that all three of his beloveds were still asleep. With all of the noise he made when he first woke up, he'd expected at least one of them to wake up as well. However, none of them did, and he was glad about it. Guilt overcame him as soon as his breathing calmed down enough to think rationally again, and he realized they were probably all really exhausted because of him, because they worried about him, and because he yelled at Bokuto. Kenma splashed a bit of cold water in his face to ground himself, and held onto the sink in order to stabilize himself, but it did close to nothing to calm his nerves. His limbs started to shake a little, and when he blindly reached for the faucet, he accidentally knocked a bunch of stuff lying at the side of the sink to the ground. A loud, shattering noise echoed through the room. He looked at the items in shock. His heart beat rapidly in his chest, and it felt as if the air had been knocked out of his lungs. He waited for a bit, listening intensely to any noise arriving from the bedroom, to see if one of his boyfriends had woken up. When nothing happened, he started to slowly pick up the pieces. Deliberately, he placed everything back to its original positions. His hands were trembling. Before he could finish, he noticed that one of these things had been one of these disposable razors mainly used by Kuro. It broke. Bits and pieces of plastic were scattered all over the floor, and while most of the blades were still intact, one fell out, and the other was hanging loosely on the broken device. Kenma couldn't help but stare at the mess and think that he broke something that belonged to Kuro. Sure, it was nothing of value, however, his current state didn't leave room to acknowledge that. Everything that followed was blurred, both literally due to the tears slowly gathering in his eyes and falling to the ground, and mentally due to the emotional distress. All he knew was that he tried, that he wanted to clean the mess that he'd made, that he had started to pick up the fragments, carefully putting them into the trash until he was left with nothing but the loose blade. He stared at it, somehow fascinated. The next thing he knew was a stinging sensation at his left arm, a slight burn and a deep red liquid starting to pour from a small cut and dyeing the hem of his sleeves in the same crimson red. The nausea hit shortly after. He had forgotten that he couldn't see blood. Kuro always helped him whenever he got hurt in this kind of way. Kenma felt himself getting dizzy, and he had to force his body to move towards the sink again. Seeing the red mixing and blending with the water made it worse at first, but the more blood washed away, the easier it got. He quickly grabbed a bandage from one of the cabins and put it around his arm to the best of his abilities. Then he cleaned the rest quickly. The blade was a challenge in itself, but he managed, and even though he hesitated, it ended up in the trash. He was still in shock and panicking about what just happened when he heard steps coming closer. Get it together. If they see you like this, they'll know that there is no point in trying to help you. Kenma? Bokuto yawned. What are you doing out of bed? I just had to go to the toilet. His words were rushed, and he ran straight past Bokuto before the other could ask any more questions. Alright, this was it for today's video for the second part of Fractured. I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry that it's a day late, and I'm sorry for any mistakes. I got really tired every time I tried to edit it. So yeah, that's totally on me. I'm so sorry about it. But I hope you liked it still. Either ways, whatever. It was a lot more angsty than usual. Tell me what you think about it. And there is going to be a third part. It's coming up soon. I hope you'll like it. Also, these are my social media accounts, especially on Instagram. I'm very active and I'm posting daily, well, not daily, but I'm posting a lot of Haikyuu accounts, especially BokuAkaKuroKen. So if you're interested in that, check it out. And bye, have a wonderful day. With my own voice is that I have outtakes. So yeah, if you want to hear some of them, I'll put them in here. And yeah, hope you liked it. With my own voice is that I have outtakes. So yeah, if you want to hear some of them, I'll put them in here. And yeah, hope you liked it.